Well, so if I could, by show of hands, how many of you are familiar, maybe have even taken a meditation course at some point? Okay, great. We've got some people that are very well acquainted with it. And how many people is this totally new, like just a discovery experience? A little bit less, but some. Okay, great. All right. Well, so given the range of experience here, what I'm going to do is kind of shoot for the middle in terms of the layer of guidance that I provide. If you have a way of practicing mindfulness that really meets your needs already, feel free to just treat my voice like the sound of the wind. If it's newer or you want to try a, just different style in this moment, feel free to follow as closely as you like. What I'm going to do is just talk you through a process of noticing different things that are present at this particular moment. And then we'll get to talk a little bit at the end. But the idea behind it, for those of you for whom it's newer, is that a lot of times we feel distressed when our attention is focused either on the future or on the past. And so what mindfulness, one of a lot of things it does, but one of the things that mindfulness does is helps us practice, bring our attention right into the moment. It's as I'm imagining you experience today, something that happens in art, something that happens with yoga, and it's really important for healing. So I'll just invite you to get comfortable. The key here is comfort, but with alertness. So you want to have your shoulders back and down so that they're able to relax, but you also want to get a little support for your back. But sit with a dignified spine, a long spine, so that you're kind of telling your body by your posture that you're awake and paying attention. And if you're comfortable closing your eyes, that can be very helpful to tune in to internal signals. If you're more comfortable with your eyes open, that's equally fine. I just invite you to find a space on the ground a few feet in front of you where you can just let your gaze be diffuse, gentle, soft. And the whole idea is really just limiting what's coming in through the eyes to make other senses a little more available. I find it helpful to start often with the sense of connection that we have to the earth. So you might feel into your feet right now. Perhaps noticing the solidness of the ground on which the feet are resting, or cushion if they're resting on a cushion. And you might notice the texture of whatever's touching the skin of the feet. Maybe it's a sock, a slipper, a shoe, directly on a carpet or a floor. And just see if you can bring some of your attention right into that sensory component of texture at the feet. And perhaps even pressure at the feet. Maybe you notice how the weight of the legs, lower legs, is distributed across the feet. Maybe you feel a little more pressure in the balls of the feet or the heels. You can notice if the weight opens more toward the outside of the foot or toward the inside. And you're just inviting yourself to notice. And perhaps you can even sense into each one of your toes. If it's difficult to feel into a toe, you might even try just a little pressure pushing the toe toward the earth, just to see if that enhances sensation for you. And you may also notice that you can bring your attention to a very specific point, say your right big toe. Or you can open your field of awareness a little bit and feel, for example, all of your right toes together. Opening it even wider if you like, and feeling all of the left toes and the right toes. It's just like expanding the aperture on a camera. You can take in as broad of a plane or as narrow of a plane as you like, just by inviting your attention to different things. And so maybe just taking a moment then to feel the feet, both of them, touching the ground and getting a sense of your connection to the earth. And then feeling on up the long bones of the lower legs, through the bend of the knees and the long bones of the upper legs, all the way to the sit bones. And maybe just observing how your weight is distributed on the chair or the bed, wherever you're seated. Perhaps you feel your clothing against your legs, or perhaps the texture of the furniture itself. Maybe you notice how the weight spreads across the legs and buttocks. Just feeling that supportive base. And then getting a sense of the cradle of your hips. And if you like, beginning to move your attention gradually up the long spine. Just noticing the tiny spaces between the vertebrae. And perhaps even feeling into that lengthening. Like a sunflower turning toward the sun The lengthening of the spine upward toward the heavens. And maybe even noticing how the crown of the head naturally lifts. And you're not having to do anything. You're just allowing the structure of the body to support you right now. Rooted into the ground, stabilized in the chair or seat, lengthening upward. And still relaxing the shoulders, the hands, even the face. If you like, just allowing the scalp to smooth out a little, the forehead, perhaps, to ease. All the little muscles around the eyes and the jaw. And if you like, you might even stretch your jaw and let it find a relaxed, comfortable position. And then perhaps just resting one hand on your chest and beginning to notice the rise and fall of the breath. Not needing to make it happen or change anything, but just witnessing. A breath moves into the body, expanding and releasing on the out breath. And then perhaps moving your hand a little lower, or it's rested on your belly. And just observing, just witnessing the breath expanding here. Just feeling how as it moves into the body, expanding the lungs, it even expands all the way down to the belly. And then letting your hands rest somewhere comfortable on your legs, perhaps, or whatever you find most comfortable. On the backs of your hands with your fingertips gently toward each other. And I'd invite you now to time some movement in the hands with the breath. So as the breath comes in, you might gently open your fingertips And as the breath goes out, you might allow the fingertips to come back together. So it's a tiny movement, gentle, slow movement, wherever your hands are rested. And the breath is the lead here. So the opening of the fingers on the in-breath is following the breath, and the closing of the fingers on the exhale is following the breath. Like a flower opening to the sun. Perhaps closing for the night. And then just allowing your hands to relax again. And noticing any sensations you feel in the hands, the fingertips, the palms. And then once more, allowing the hands to open to the in-breath and close to the out-breath. And then allowing them to find stillness again. And perhaps just sensing the breath wherever it's most obvious to you now. It could be the chest, the belly, the sides, the hand. And if the mind wanders off, totally fine. That's what minds do. Just notice and gently, with kindness, bring it back to the experience of this particular breath. And if you'd like to add an image, you might imagine yourself as whatever flower you've been thinking of with the theme of blossoming. or perhaps it's a plant of some kind. Just imagine yourself feeling the roots, the stability of the ground beneath you, and the long stem transporting nourishment, energy. And the flowers blossom, lifting to the sun, feeling the sun on your face. So giving yourself a moment to just fully enjoy, if it's pleasurable, this moment. And then if you like, perhaps taking 2 or 3 full breaths in. And then if the body is asking for any particular stretch, be it a neck, a hand, a back, whatever it is, feel free to give that to yourself as you bring your attention back onto the screen. Thank you.